Hello, this is Janine Marie, and I'd like to welcome you to today's video. If you don't mind, I'm just going to talk. I really don't want to be seen in this video today because, quite honestly, I feel like I've been just a little bit heartbroken, and I'd rather just talk. And what I'm going to be talking about has to do with the way women are viewed in our country and in our world, and some of the subjugation and some of the ways that women are treated. Now, I know that because of the women's rights movements and all of those things, there are a lot of women in positions of power. There are women who have, come to places of becoming CEOs and COOs and companies and all of those things, but that's not what this is about. This is about something that goes straight to the heart of the divine feminine, and I believe that this is touching the heart of God. And I believe as God and our Creator, this is a message that needs to be spoken over and over again. Women have been dealt a very difficult hand. We have a presentation in this world and a responsibility to create in this world. We are the womb of man. Woman. We are the womb of man. And because we're the womb of man, we have the responsibility of carrying children and delivering children into this world that contributes to humanity and helping to raise those children. It's not an easy job. I know that men have a part in this, but I am talking about the heart of women right now. So if you don't mind, that's the avenue I'm going to go down. For some reason, and I'm going to say ungodly reason, we have been conditioned to believe that women have been created to be the pleasure of man. And whereas maybe intimacy between two people can be very pleasurable, I believe that women have been really unjustly treated in the way that we are viewed in our country and across the globe. Women, as the womb of man, were not created for man's pleasure or to be a toy or something that is an object to be viewed or an object to be used or even paid for sexual pleasure or intimacy. Women were created as a part of the divine feminine and that expression on this world and in this world. And that has been greatly undervalued and devalued and oppressed. Back in Salem during the witch trials, women were greatly suffered under the hands of men, unfortunately, in the church and also some other women. And during that time, they were intuitive and found to be very healing and found to use nature as a way or a means of healing people. It was determined to be witchcraft or witchery and something that's evil. And so women were hung, they were burned at the stake, women were drowned, and sometimes they were just maimed and mangled because they were determined to be witches and they had to live like that. Unfortunately, women had to suffer that, and for some reason, we still carry that wound because whenever we're intuitive and whenever we're insightful and whenever we're healing and whenever we take positions of spiritual authority, quite often we are pressed down and sometimes pressed out. And I've experienced some of that. As a woman who has been a pastor in my past and has expanded herself out into more metaphysical and spiritual counseling, I can say that I've experienced firsthand the way that men have treated me as a spiritual leader and someone whom God has entrusted with a degree of spirituality on this planet and the healing of people on this planet. And I hope that one day I can live up to everything that I am purposefully supposed to do on this planet. This is one of them. I just want to say that the worst thing that I could ever listen to or hear is when women are being used as a sexual eye candy or a sexual object, or paid to be used for sexual intimacy. I think that it is so degrading to women everywhere, because when something is done with one woman, it's done to all of us. And yes, there are a lot of women who willingly participate, and it's because for some reason now we have the idea as women that we're not worth anything unless we can be of value to mostly men and attractive to mostly men. Or, it can be to other women depending on, how things are felt or, believed for a particular person. And I'm kind of stumbling over my words. Excuse me, I'm just very tired. There's something that I expressed that came out of me just yesterday, I believe, and it has to do with inequality in our world and in our country. And we think that the only inequalities, I believe, are racial, or, something that has to do with our gender or our sexual preferences. And although a lot of those things do exist, let's look at women for a minute, because we have women of all races, of all gender preferences. We have women of all different persuasions. I mean, there are women who are just as diverse in our looks as all people are. And I really truly believe that the number one inequality and the number one slavery issue has to do with the way women are treated. Now, I know of women who are mothers, and I know them personally, who have had their daughters brought into sex trafficking and actually stolen into that situation as young women who were not even of age. And their lives were completely destroyed. And then coming out of sex trafficking, that's all they knew. And so what has happened is they end up putting themselves out there to be paid to have sex with others. So in other words, their self-esteem, their self-worth, their ability to become something else of purpose and of value in this world has been completely crushed into something that has been brought down to only the pleasure of another person to be paid for, and devalued to only being currency and just about almost treated like cattle or an exchange. And I have to say that this is probably the most disheartening thing that I have to say, because slavery is something that we make really big in this country. We talk about it really big, and it is a wound in this country that has hurt for a very long time and still does. But we rarely ever look at the slavery of women in this country and in this world. And it's not just sex trafficking, it's the way that women are looked at and looked upon. Now, I heard a lot of the excuses concerning men, that men are very visual, that they appreciate the look of a woman, they appreciate beauty and all of those things, and so therefore it's okay for men to look at women and, treat them as objects and, joke about them and lust after them and all of those things. But this is the reality. This is not the purpose that women are here. This is a distorted spiritually genetic defect that has occurred within our existence. It has nothing to do with the way men were created. Men were not created to be that way, and women were not created to be that for men. Women, yes, were created to join with men, and we're created to make creation, create not only other human beings, but to join and create purposeful things in this world. Women are dynamic. They are meant to be equal with men. They are meant to be prized with men. I think one of the more profound things about Jesus that I absolutely love is he was a defender of women. He said to a crowd of people openly, and I'm just going to repeat this, that if a man, a husband, even looks at another woman with lust in his heart, he has already committed adultery. In other words, he cheated on his wife, just looking at another woman with lust. And the point of it is, he was trying to say women are not meant for this. Women are meant for more than this. Women are meant to be treated better than that. Because the devaluation of women is the greatest underspoken of and undervalued thing that we've ever missed, I think, in this world. We have been broken and disheartened into thinking that we have to be a certain body type and body measurement, to the point where women will actually become ill, become sick, and suffer from anorexia and bulimia and a lot of different illnesses, mental illnesses, and become broken and disheartened because they don't feel they're attractive and they don't feel that they're enough no matter what they do. And I have to speak this from firsthand experience because I know exactly how it feels. I know exactly how it feels to be devalued. I know how it feels when I have somebody that I have loved and cared about has cheated on me for years of my marriage without me even knowing, and finding after many, many years that my marriage was over. As a woman who has had to suffer from feeling devalued and undervalued because a man has looked at other women and lusted after her, it makes me feel like I'm broken, like I'm not whole, like I'm not enough. And I know that this is not a sentiment that's just shared by myself or not owned by myself. And no, I'm not going to own it. I'm just going to say I want to disown it, but it's very difficult. I know that women, many women everywhere, feel like this. They feel like when we get older that our usefulness is gone. We feel like when we're gifted and we're spiritually intuitive and we're a channel for God, that we're not worth as much as men are when they do the same thing. We feel like we're sexually not okay when men decide that we're not enough anymore and they want to go and find someone else and use them for their own pleasure. I have to say this very, very profoundly, that because this is so ingrained, and even in the light of the fact that I'm speaking about it, it's so ingrained in humanity, I do the same thing. I feel like if I'm not a certain body type, if I'm not a certain measurement, if my husband or my significant other has a desire or lustful thought and expresses it, then I'm not enough. And I'm here to say for myself and for every woman out there, you're enough. You're enough. You've always been enough. That not only are you enough, but you're more than what you ever imagined. I want to just gift this to you today on behalf of the divine, that you have been created as the womb of man, that you are one of the greatest creators on this planet, and that you have so many gifts that you press down, and I know you do, because you feel that if you express yourself the way you're meant to express yourself, you will be pushed down, shut out, shut up, shut down, or cast aside. And I'm going to say, for your heart, from my heart, from my daughters' hearts, and for the hearts of men, I'm going to say, you're enough. You're enough. And I hope that every man that listens, because I'm not going to stop here, I'm going to continue to talk about this subject. Every man that listens and hears, every partner of a woman that listens and hears will come to understand that women were not created for the use of other people intimately, or for the use and the casting away, because once they're used up, they're no longer desired. That is a gross, gross dishonor of God's creation right there. We have been enslaved for so very long. Is it time for us to be released? Yes. So thank you for listening to this so far. I just want to put this out there. Respect every woman as if she were your mother, because someday she'll be as old as your mother is or has been. Someday she'll come to the end of her life. Do you want her to come to the end of her life feeling like she has been used like a piece of cattle or meat? Or do you want her to come to the end of her life knowing and understanding that she has been created as a part of the divine feminine on this planet, and you have given her a voice and allowed her that voice and have not shut her down? Do a great honor to women today. Love on a woman respectfully today, because she deserves it and more. God bless you. I'm loving you from here, and I'm praying for the healing of women everywhere, for the healing of the hearts of men everywhere, and for humanity. Thank you.